Okay, guys, so I'm gonna do a quick explanation of the Totem Activator spec. Okay, I'm gonna just go overall through an overview of what the spec entails, what the different terminology means, and I'll also give you an example of what it is that I'm asking for in this spec. Okay, so very important, not everything here is set on stone. I am doing this before the release, so up until the release everything could change. So if there's something different from this video to the specs that I released, the specs ultimately decide what it is that you have to do. Okay, so that is very important. And if we go, this is an overview. This is not very important. You can read it that later on your own. Like, it's not important in reference to what we're doing right now. Very clear, very explored distinction. These are the same for everybody. The first minimal requirements. They must all be unique in texture, name, and implementation. So armor must have unique hardness and resistance, and tools must have unique attack damage and speed, different to any single one currently in the game. They should all have their own recipes, and the armor specifically should use the item from phase 1. I thought that would be pretty funny, especially for those who did like cake and stuff. So yeah. And as to the totem activator, the first thing that you see here is the word tile entity. You might not heard it before. Tile entity is just a type of block that stores extra information, right? Every block in Minecraft will not hold a lot of information because there's thousands and thousands of blocks out there, right? So when you want a specific block to store extra information, like a chest or a furnace, what you do is that you create an instance of a tile entity for that specific block, and you tie to the block that tile entity, so that that specific block will hold more information than any other block, because you don't want every single block in the game to store up to like, oh, I don't know, 128 bits, when you can just have it storing 8 bits and it's a lot more efficient. Okay, so you need to implement a tile entity that is a totem, and it must store exactly 2 items, and it will persist when the world is closed. So whatever it has when the world closes, it's what it'll have when the world opens up back again. The method for you putting it in the totem is up to you. You can put a UI, and the UI typically is paired with a container that stores the items, and then just mouse in items and mouse out items like the chest does. Or you can just right click the block with an item and have the block absorb it, okay, which is the method that I implemented here. Okay, so whichever is up to you. Regardless, when I hit the block with a stick, it needs to tell me what's stored in it, and it must say none if it's empty. The items, it'll only accept potions. Okay, so in those 2 slots, you can only ever have potions. Once it has 2 potions, if it doesn't have a UI that I can just get out and get in any items, then when you attempt to give it a 3rd one, it'll delete the oldest potion. It must not return it to the player, and the new one will take its place. Okay, the block must have 2 charge values that will also persist, and each of those charges will reset to 0 when I overwrite any potion, right? So the charge for slot 1 will go back to 0 if I overwrite the potion in slot 1. Okay, the item that will recharge this slot is dependent on the potion, right? If it's a night vision potion, then you must charge it with a golden carrot. Okay, you only need to implement the following potions, because there's a lot of potions. I'm not gonna make you guys implement every single potion with every single item, because there's no need, right? I can see that you understood the concept by just implementing 5 of them. Okay, and after that, okay, so night vision must be golden carrot, swiftness must be sugar, fire resistant magma cream, healing golden melon, and water breathing pufferfish. Okay, so if I have a potion of healing and I hit with a pufferfish, nothing will happen unless I have a water breathing potion in it. Okay, you need to implement an item called a totem activator. If I right click my totem with this totem activator, given that I have enough charge for any of the potions in the totem, it'll apply that effect to my player and it'll diminish the charge by 1. Okay, and if I right click the totem activator in air, so not pointing at any specific block, then it'll look for an 8x8x2 block, 2 being the height, right? So the player feet is at 1 Y level, the head is at another Y level. So those are the 2 blocks that it'll look for. And it'll look for a totem, and if it finds one, it'll check its potions, it'll check if it has enough charge, and if it does, it'll apply those potion effects to the player. And enough charge means that it has at least 3 charges instead of 1, right? When you right click the block itself, it'll right click, it'll give you the effect, and it'll only consume 1 charge. When I right click air from far away, it'll apply and it'll use more, right? It is like an extra fee for it being wireless. Okay, so I think that pretty well defines it. Let me show you in actual game what it does. Right, so this is my little totem activator. I like to think he's actually pretty cute and adorable. Okay, if I right click him, nothing happens. If I right click him with a stick, it says potion 1 air with a charge of 0, potion 2 air. Yours should say none. I put air. No specific reason. Okay, if I right click it with this potion, I'm a creative so it doesn't take it away. But see now it says potion of leaping. If I right click it with this, now it says potion of fire resistance. If I do fire resistant again, it changes the first one. If I do leaping, it changes the second one. Okay, if I give it coal, which in my case is for whatever is in slot 1, you see that slot 2, my bad. Slot 2 goes to 1. If I give it redstone, you see that slot 2 goes to charge 1. Okay, so now if I take my totem activator and I right click the block with it, you see that it gave me both effects. And if I right click with a stick, they both have 0. Okay, that is the main idea. And if I right click it in the air, it'll give both of them to me given that I have enough charge. But I don't have enough charge, so it won't. Okay, so that's the idea behind it. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. It looks pretty simple. The most complicated thing of it, I guess, is dealing with the whole potion effect. It's a little bit tedious. And doing the whole writing and reading to MBT to store, right? So if I leave the world and I enter it again, it should still say the same potion effects and the same charge levels. And the whole looking for this block in a radius is also a little bit complicated. But it's a matter of just doing a couple for loops that check in the radius and checking for the instances. Okay, so I think that defines everything. Okay, any doubts, any questions, do let me know. Okay, thank you guys, and